Get ready.
As you know, there's now a vacancy.
There.
What
okay, if
was
it doesn't
your
work,
strategy
we're
to
in big
fix
trouble.
it without this? Tell me what you would have done.
Also. Well, I'm
Tell me how you would have
I get the final word.
You have no answer.
That is not true.
Stop.
Unfortunately,
Stop,
I'm going to respect what Melissa Francis is trying to do and wrap this up.
Let's move it on. Segment 2. Here we go.
Passion.
Well, before I say, get rid of the 25% tariff that we have on imported light trucks in this country. So, again, it's not that fair. Meantime, President Trump just days away from revealing his Supreme Court pick to replace retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy. And pressure to back the nominee will likely be felt by red state Democrats, like Senator Jon Tester of Montana, where the president held a rally for Tester's opponent and told the crowd to get ready.
As you know, there's now a vacancy on the Supreme Court. And if you turn in Monday at 9 o'clock, I think you're going to be extremely happy with the selection, right? And they're all great. They're all great.
The president's interviews are now over, and Vice President Mike Pence also met with top candidates in recent days. The president narrowing his list to federal judges Brett Kavanaugh, Raymond Kethledge, and Amy Coney Barrett. And we're told a fourth wild card might be in the mix. Liberal groups, meantime, taking aim at some of the nominees in recent ads. Watch this.
And if she were on the Supreme Court, millions of Americans could lose their health insurance. Barrett criticized the Supreme Court's landmark ruling upholding Obamacare. Brett Kavanaugh is on Trump's short list of Supreme Court nominees. Kavanaugh is on Trump's list because he believes the president should be above the law. He thinks the president should have absolute discretion whether and when he can be independently investigated.
Meantime, conservative groups targeting those red state Democrats, including Senators Claire McCaskill and Heidi Heitkamp. David, on this note, I feel like there are three of the senators the Democrats who voted for Justice Neil Gorsuch last year, and they're going to be targets of the Republicans. Joe Manchin in West Virginia, Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, and Joe Donnelly. You only need to, assuming that John McCain doesn't come in to vote.
Right.
You know, you got to keep your caucus, but what about the Democrats coming over?
The Democrats face a couple of tough decisions. The first one is inevitably there's going to be a Supreme Court justice, and they're going to lose. It's how you lose the battle. There are 10 states roughly where Trump won significantly, and Democrats have to face that. Those are 3 of them. The fact is that what we see here is the Anita Hill or the Borkin of candidates before one's even nominated. And the Democrats have played that role before. They're going to play it again. Stop believing that because if it's, for instance, Amy Barrett, that for some reason they're going to back off. They're not. The Democrats are playing hardball because they're driving to their base, not to the Republicans and not to those states where those senators faced election. McCaskill is, I think, one of the weak ones. And Tester, I made a promise I would go to Montana, and a lot of us will go out to Montana, so they better pay attention.
Let's listen to the president ripping Tester over voting against Gorsuch.
Jon Tester voted against Neil Gorsuch, the incredible justice who supports fully our Constitution. That's a hard one to vote against, isn't it? Tester opposed many of our amazing judges, and yet I see Jon Tester saying such nice things about me. I say, yeah, but he never votes for me.
Kennedy.
I think he's leaning toward Amy Coney Barrett. I really do, because she's the more socially conservative of these jurists. And I think confirmation is going to be actually easier than the next time around. I think the next time when the court is, in a real imbalance for liberals, that's when they're really going to fight. And I think that's when you'll see the president nominate someone like Mike Lee, who is a senator from Utah. He's very popular in the Senate. He's got friends on both sides of the aisle, and I think he will play that card later on. But for now, if Democrats try and come at this confirmation process, if he in fact nominates her with an anti-Catholic, anti-Christian bias, they're going to have a real problem on their hands. But, don't forget about Doug Jones as well in Alabama. He's from a very red state. He accidentally won that Senate race.
A nomination of Amy Barrett would probably not look good for the Democrats if they go after her faith. Remember when she was when she was up for her appellate court position, Dianne Feinstein, the senator, saying the dogma lives loudly within you. So if that was ugly, this will get much nastier.
And that's something that has haunted Dianne Feinstein. I agree that any fight that hinges on someone's religion is problematic for the left, and that should be left alone. There are legitimate objections to every justice that's on that list. And I also wanted to mention that our John Roberts tweeted today that James Hardiman, and I mentioned this last night on your show, Kennedy, is also still in the running, and he was the runner-up for Neil Gorsuch there. I don't think it's Mike Lee's turn.
Do any Democrats vote yes on any of these? Well,
I think the three that did it before would do it again. Claire McCaskill, it's different. There are like gradations of the resistance amongst those 10 red state Democrats. Claire McCaskill she's not quite Kamala Harris, obviously, but she is much more part of that camp than someone like Heidi Heitkamp, who gets on Air Force One with the president, who talks about tax cuts, who talks about
voting with the president.
And Joe Manchin, obviously. But you might even pick up a couple more of them. It'll be interesting, at least I'm watching, with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, who are both pro-choice Republicans, what they're going to do, because they say, we can't vote for someone who's openly hostile to Roe v. Wade, but they're also not going to talk about it, and they're just going to assume you'll respect precedent, but you can't just assume that.
But so you've got to keep your caucus if you're a Democrat or Republican. It's up to Mitch McConnell, who is a magician. He is David Copperfield, quite frankly, in terms of what he's been able to get done.
And it's up to Chuck Schumer, too, to try and keep his party in line. I think the funniest thing about all of this is the fact that the president keeps saying, I'm going to announce it in prime time at 9 p.m. on Monday night. It's like The Bachelor. We're finding out who gets the rose.
Well, it's interrupting The Bachelor, which is even more frustrating.
It's actually interrupting The Bachelor.
Yeah,
there you go.
I will say
right.
we have special coverage on FBN that night. So very much looking forward to it.
Way to get in that plug.
Well, this is a big FBN couch.
By the way, I would say that the hot odds are on Tom Hardiman, because he was a taxi driver. His story certainly.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
He was
My
a runner-up.
vote's for Andrew Napolitano.
He's the Latka of the Supreme Court.
No, that's fine.
Thank you. President Trump continues to take on Maxine Waters after the Democrat called on people to publicly harass administration officials. And now some 200 women sign a letter telling Democrats that they owe the Congresswoman an apology. We'll explain and debate. And it's GOP lawmakers' deadline day for the DOJ. They say enough is enough, and the department better turn over all requested documents, or else. Whether it will and what happens if not.
Mr. Rosenstein, why are you keeping information from Congress?
Congressman, I'm not keeping any information from Congress that it's appropriate.
In a few minutes, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the House of Representatives is going to say something different.